Hi, everybody. This is the Bible reading for Section 2, Lesson 1. Today we're going to read Genesis 22 to 25 and Psalm 7. Genesis 22, the offering of Isaac. Now after these things, God tested the faith and commitment of Abraham and said to him, Abraham, and he answered, Here I am. God said, Take now your son, your only son of promise, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains, which I shall tell you. So Abraham got up early in the morning, saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him and his son Isaac, and he split the wood for the burnt offering, and then he got up and went to the place of which God had told him. On the 3rd day of travel, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. Abraham said to his servants, Settle down and stay here with the donkey. The young man and I will go over there and worship God, and we will come back to you. Then Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and laid it on the shoulders of Isaac, his son, and he took the fire pot in his own hand, and the sacrificial knife, and the 2 of them walked on together. And Isaac said to Abraham, My father, and he said, Here I am, my son. Isaac said, Look, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham said, My son, God will provide for himself a lamb for the burnt offering. So the 2 walked on together. When they came to the place of which God had told him, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood, and bound Isaac his son, and placed him on the altar, on top of the wood. Abraham reached out his hand and took the knife to kill his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham, and he answered, Here I am. The Lord said, Do not reach out with the knife in your hand against the boy, and do nothing to harm him. For now I know that you fear God with reverence and profound respect, since you have not withheld from me your son, your only son of promise. Then Abraham looked up and glanced around, and behold, behind him was a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up for a burnt offering, a sending sacrifice instead of his son. So Abraham named that place, The Lord Will Provide, and it is said to this day, On the mountain of the Lord it will be seen and provided. The angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time and said, By myself, on the basis of who I am, I have sworn an oath, declares the Lord, that since you have done this thing, and have not withheld from me your son, your only son of promise, indeed I will greatly bless you, and I will greatly multiply your seed, like the stars of the heavens and like the sand of the seashore, and your seed shall possess the gates of their enemies, by conquering them. Through your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have heard and obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned to his servants, and they got up and went with him to Beersheba. And Abraham settled in Beersheba. Now after these things Abraham was told, Milcah has borne children to your brother Nahor, Uz the firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram, Chesed and Hazo, and Pildash, and Jadlaph, and Bethuel. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. These 8 children Milcah bore to Nahor, Abraham's brother. Nahor's concubine, whose name was Rehummah, gave birth to Tebah and Gaham, and Tahash and Mahakah. Genesis 23. Death and burial of Sarah. Sarah lived 127 years. This was the length of life of Sarah. Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan, and Abraham went to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Then Abraham stood up before his dead wife's body and spoke to the sons of Heth, Hittites, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner, a resident alien among you. Sell me property for a burial place among you, so that I may bury my dead in the proper manner. The Hittites replied to Abraham, Listen to us, my lord. You are a prince of God, a mighty prince among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of our graves. None of us will refuse you his grave or hinder you from burying your dead wife. So Abraham stood up and bowed to the people of the land, the Hittites, and Abraham said to them, If you are willing to grant my dead a proper burial, listen to me and plead with Ephron, the son of Zohar, for me, so that he may sell me the cave of Machpelah, which he owns. It is at the end of his field. Let him give it to me here in your presence for the full price as a burial site, which I may keep forever among you. Now Ephron was present there among the sons of Heth, So within the hearing of all the sons of Heth and all who were entering the gate of his city, Ephron the Hittite answered Abram, saying, Now, no, my lord, hear me. I give thee an entire field, and I also give you the cave that is in it. In the presence of my people I will sell it to you. Bury your dead there. Then Abraham bowed before the people of the land. He said to Ephron in the presence of the people of the land, If you will only please listen to me and accept my offer, I will give you the price of the field. Accept it from me, and I will bury my dead there. Ephron replied to Abraham, My lord, listen to me. The land you seek is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? So bury your dead. So Abraham listened to Ephron and agreed to his terms and weighed out for Ephron the amount of silver which he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, according to the weights current among the merchants. So the field of Ephron in Machpelah, which is to the east of Mamre, Hebron, the field and the cave which was in it, and all the trees that were in the field and in it, and in all its borders around, were deeded over legally to Abraham as his possession in the presence of the Hittites, before all who were entering at the city of the gate of a city. After this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah to the east of Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. The field and the cave in it were deeded over to Abraham by the Hittites as a permanent possession and burial place. Genesis 24. Now Abraham was old, well advanced in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. Abraham said to his servant Eliezer of Damascus, the oldest of his household, who had charge over all that Abraham owned, Please put your hand under my thigh, as is customary for affirming a solemn oath, and I will make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of the earth, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I live, but you will instead go to my former country, Mesopotamia, and to my relatives, and take a wife for my son Isaac, the heir of the covenant promise. The servant said to him, Suppose the woman will not be willing to follow me back to this country. Should I take your son back to the country from which you came? Abraham said to him, See to it that you do not take my son back there. The Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house, from the land of my family and my birth, who spoke to me and swore to me, saying, To your descendants I will give the land. He will send his angel before you to guide you, and you will take a wife from there for my son, and bring her here. If the woman is not willing to follow you to this land, then you will be free from this my oath, and blameless. Only you must never take my son back there. So the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. Then the servant took 10 of his master's camels and set out, taking some of his master's good things with him. So he got up and journeyed to Mesopotamia between the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers, to the city of Nahor, the home of Abraham's brother. He made the camels kneel down outside the city by the well of water at the time of the evening when women go out to draw water. And he said, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, please grant me success today and show loving kindness, faithfulness to my master Abraham. Behold, I stand here at the spring of water, and the daughters of men of the city are coming out to draw water. Now let it be that the girl to whom I say, Please let down your jar so that I may have a drink, and she replies, Drink, and I will also give your camels water to drink. May she be the one to whom you have selected as a wife for your servant Isaac, and by this I will know that you have shown loving faithfulness to my master. Loving kindness, faithfulness to my master. Rebekah is chosen. Before Eliezer had finished speaking, praying, Rebekah came out with her water jar on her shoulder. Rebekah was the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Malchah, who was the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor. The girl was very beautiful, a virgin and unmarried, and she went down to the spring and filled her jar and came up. Then the servant ran to meet her and said, Please let me drink a little water from your jar. And she said, Drink, my lord. And she quickly lowered her jar to her hand and gave him a drink. When she had given Eliezer a drink, she said, I will also draw water for your camels until they have finished drinking. So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough and ran again into the well and drew water for all his camels. Meanwhile, the man stood gazing at Rebekah in reverent silence, waiting to know if the Lord had made his trip successful or not. When the camels had finished drinking, Eliezer took the gold ring, weighing a half a shekel, and 2 bracelets for her hands, weighing 10 shekels in gold, and said, Whose daughter are you? Please tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to lodge? And she said to him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, Milcah's son, whom she bore to her husband Nahor. Again she said to him, We have plenty of both straw and feed, and also room to lodge. The man bowed his head and worshipped the Lord. He said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not denied his loving kindness and his truth to my master. As for me, the Lord led me to the house of my master's brothers. Then the girl ran and told her mother's household what had happened. Now Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban. And Laban ran out to the man at the well. When he saw the ring and the bracelets on his sister's arms, and when he heard Rebekah his sister saying, The man said this to me, he went to Eliezer and found him standing by the camels at the spring. And Laban said, Come in, blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside, since I have made the house ready and have prepared a place for the camels? So the man came into the house, and Laban unloaded his camels and gave them straw and feed, and he gave water to Eliezer to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. But when food was set before him, he said, I will not eat until I have stated my business. And Laban said, Speak on. So he said, I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has greatly blessed my master, and he has become great, wealthy, powerful. He has given him flocks and herds and silver and gold, and servants and maids and camels and donkeys. Now Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master when she was in her old age, and he has given everything that he has to him. My master made me swear an oath, saying, You must not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I live, but you shall instead go to my father's house and to my family and take a wife for my son Isaac. Then I said to my master, But suppose the woman will not follow me back to this land. And he said to me, The Lord, before whom I walk habitually and obediently, will send his angel with you to make your journey successful, and you will take a wife for my son from my relatives and from my family's house. Then you will be freed from my oath when you have come to my relatives, and if they do not give her to you, you will also be free from my oath. I came today to the spring and said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, if you will now make my journey on which I go successful, please look, I am standing by the spring of water. Now let it be when the maiden whom you have chosen for Isaac comes out to draw water, and to whom I say, Please give me a little water to drink from your jar. And if she says to me, You drink, and I will also draw water for your camels, then let the woman be the one who the Lord has selected and chosen as a wife for my master's son. Before I had finished praying in my heart, behold, Rebekah came out with her water jar on her shoulder, and she went down to the spring and drew water. And I said to her, Please let me have a drink. And she quickly let down her jar from her shoulder and said, Drink, and I will also water your camels. So I drank, and she also watered the camels. Then I asked her, Whose daughter are you? She said, The daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bore to him. And I put the ring in her nose and the bracelets on her arms. And I bowed down my head and worshipped the Lord and blessed the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who had led me in the right way to take the daughter of my master's brother to his son as a wife. So now if you are going to show kindness and truth to my master, being faithful to him, tell me, and if not, tell me, that I may turn to the right or to the left and go on my way. Then Laban and Bethuel answered, The matter has come from the Lord, so we dare not speak bad or good to you about it. We cannot interfere. Rebekah is before you, take her and go, and let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has spoken. When Abraham's servant heard their words, he bowed himself to the ground and worshipped before the Lord. Then the servant brought out jewelry of silver, jewelry of gold, and articles of clothing, and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave precious things to her brother and to her mother. Then he and the men who were with him ate and drank and spent the night there. In the morning, when they got up, he said, Now send me back to my master. But Rebekah's brother and mother said, Let the girl stay with us a few days, and then at least 10, then she may go. But Eliezer said to them, Do not delay me, since the Lord has prospered my way. Send me away, so that I may go back to my master. And they said, We will call the girl and ask her what she prefers. So they called Rebekah and said, Will you go with this man? And she answered, I will go. So they sent off their sister Rebekah and her nurse Deborah as her attendant, and Abraham's servant Eliezer and his men. They blessed Rebekah and said to her, May you, our sister, become the mother of thousands of 10,000s, and may your descendants conquer the city gate of those who hate them. Then Rebekah and her attendants stood, and they mounted camels and followed the man. So the servant took Rebekah and went on his way. Now Isaac had returned from going to Beer-lahai-roi, the well of the living one who sees me, for he was living in the Negev. Isaac went out to bow down in prayer in the field in the early evening. He raised his eyes and looked, and camels were coming. Rebekah also raised her eyes and looked, and when she saw Isaac, she dismounted from her camel. She said to the servant, Who is that man there walking across the field to meet us? And the servant said, He is my master, Isaac. So she took a veil and covered herself, as was customary. The servant told Isaac everything that he had done. Then Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, And he took Rebekah in marriage, and she became his wife, and he loved her. Therefore Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Genesis 25. Abraham's death. Abraham took another wife, whose name was Keturah. She gave birth to Zimran, Jokshan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. The sons of Dedan were Eshurim, Letzurim, and Lehumim. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanak, Abidah, and Alidah. All these were the sons of Keturah. Now Abraham gave everything that he had to Isaac, but to the sons of his concubines, Hagar and Keturah, Abraham gave gifts while he was still living and sent them to the east country away from Isaac his son of promise. The days of Abraham's life were 175 years. Then Abraham breathed his last, and he died at a good old age, an old man who was satisfied with life, and he was gathered to his people who had preceded him in death. So his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah in the field of Ephron, and the son of Zahar the Hittite, which is in the east of Mamre, the field which Abraham purchased from the sons of Heth. There Abraham was buried with Sarah his wife. Now after the death of Abraham, God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac lived at Beer-lahai-roi. Descendants of Ishmael. Now these are the records of the descendants of Ishmael, Abraham's son, who Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's maid, bore to Abraham. And these are the names of the 12 sons of Ishmael, named in the order of their births: Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael, and Kedar, Adbel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Masa, Hadad, Tima, Jetur, Nephish, Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names, by their settlements and by their encampments, sheepfolds, 12 princes, sheiks according to their tribes, foretold in Genesis 17:20. Ishmael lived 137 years. Then he breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people who had preceded him in death. Ishmael's son, descendants, settled from Havilah to Shur, which is east of Egypt as one goes towards Assyria. He settled opposite east of all of his relatives. Isaac's sons. Now these are the records of the descendants of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham was the father of Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, and the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean Syrian of Paddan Aram, the sister of Laban, the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord for his wife because she was unable to conceive children, and the Lord granted his prayer, and Rebekah his wife conceived twins. But the children struggled together within her, kicking and shoving one another. And she said, "If it is so that the Lord has heard our prayer, why then am I this way?" So she went to inquire of the Lord, praying for an answer. The Lord said to her, "The founders of 2 nations are in your womb, and the separation of 2 nations has begun in your body. The one people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger." When her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. The first came out reddish all over like a hairy garment, and they named him Esau, hairy. Afterwards his brother came out, and his hand grasped Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob, one who grabs by the heel, supplanter. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. When the boys grew up, Esau was an able and skilled hunter, a man of the outdoors, but Jacob was a quiet and peaceful man living in tents. Now Isaac loved and favored Esau because he enjoyed eating his game, but Rebekah loved and favored Jacob. Jacob had cooked reddish-brown lentil stew one day, when Esau came from the field and was famished, and Esau said to Jacob, "Please let me have a quick swallow of that red stuff there, because I am exhausted and famished." For what reason? For that reason Esau was also called Edom, red. Jacob answered, "First sell me your birthright, the rights of a firstborn." Esau said, "Look, I'm about to die. If I do not eat soon, so of what use is this birthright to me?" Jacob said, "Swear an oath to me today that you are selling it to me for this food." So he swore an oath to him and sold him his birthright. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, and he ate and drank, and got up and went on his way. In this way Esau scorned his birthright. Psalm 7. The Lord implored to defend the psalmist against the wicked. An ode of David, perhaps in a wild, irregular, enthusiastic strain, which he sang to the Lord concerning the words of Cush, a Benjamite. O Lord my God, in you I take refuge. Save me and rescue me from all those who pursue me. so that my enemy may not tear me like a lion, dragging me away while there is no one to rescue me. O Lord my God, if I have done this, if there is injustice in my hands, if I have done evil to him who was at peace with me, or without cause robbed him who was my enemy, let the enemy pursue me and overtake me, and let him trample my life to the ground and lay my honor in the dust. Arise, O Lord, in your anger, lift up yourself against the rage of my enemies. Rise up for me, you have commanded judgment and vindication. Let the assembly of the nations be gathered around you and return on high over them. The Lord judges the peoples. Judge me, O Lord, and grant me justice according to my righteousness and according to the integrity within me. O let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end, but establish the righteous, those in right standing with you. For the righteous God tries the hearts and minds. My shield and my defense depend on God, who saves the upright in heart. God is the righteous judge, and a God who is indignant every day. If a man does not repent, God will sharpen his sword. He has strung and bent his mighty bow, and made it ready. He has also prepared other deadly weapons for himself. He makes his arrows fiery shafts, aimed at the unrepentant. Behold, the wicked and irreverent man is pregnant with sin, and he conceives mischief and gives birth to lies. He has dug a pit and hollowed it out, and has fallen into the very pit which he had made. It is a trap. His mischief will return on his own head, and his violence will come down on the top of his head like a loose dirt. I will give thanks to the Lord according to his righteousness and justice, and I will sing praise to the name of the Lord Most High.